Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook along with Brad Koima with Koima Varlick. Well, we have mixed trade in the livestock right now. Cattle are setting back today. Hogs to the plus side. We're mixed over in the grains. Corn and soybeans just ticking a little bit lower here with wheat a bit higher. But Brad, let's talk about the cattle market. New contract highs yesterday in live cattle. Setting back today. Is this just a healthy correction?
That would be my view, Michelle, that today is about not that there's some new bad news in the market, but rather, a function of a market that's gotten itself quite overbought and had a big rally here the last while. Some of the spreads and some of these things are looking at, 8, 9, 10, 12 days in a row where the forward spreads have worked. So, it's a market of action and reaction, of course. So you can't go up every day. And that's how I view it. I still think the underlying macro fundamentals, to me, still remain very supportive.
So let's talk about one of the main fundamentals that's pushed this market, not just the tight supplies, but also cash trade up the last 2 weeks. Will we be up again here this week?
I believe yes. And last week's trade, it kind of had a smile a little bit. I guess that was a coincidence, right? That it was 5 after 1, that the bids went to 161.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so the market yesterday reacting to that catch-up news of what, that very strong cash trade. Well, in the north too, was good last Friday afternoon. I think you got a producer that's got a little bit of our bow in his neck, a little bounce in his step, confidence, that the futures. Look at April cattle carrying a premium now, and it's not very long until we, get rid of February and start looking at April as the lead month. So I think cash should be 160 to 162, maybe 2 or 3 on the right kind if they're inside, right color, and not so dirty, which is a little hard to come by around here, of course. But I sure think it'll be higher. Some sale barn indications on the fat auctions today so far. Certainly they look like they were higher today. So that's good too.
We talk about tight supplies, but we add on top of that some weights, which are well below a year ago. So that's also bullish, right?
Great question. Great comment. Last week's weights, which are 13 days old when we get them, showed that this is the one that I write down every Thursday. Steer and heifer carcasses, 21 pounds below a year ago. Now, seasonally, we take weight off this time of year anyway, but we are ripping it off now. As you run out of the yearling crop and then transition to calves, which are a long ways off this year, in my view, because the weather, it's been so difficult in the north. This calf thing's just going to get pushed back, I think. But I was looking at some different comprehensive weight data this morning, and there's some areas, particularly Nebraska. My, oh my. I mean, we're like 60 some pounds below last year. You can really see where the weather's been the most difficult, where the average weights also seem to be suffering the most.
You bet. And, we have a lot of people that continue to try to throw the demand card at the market as a wet blanket, but box beef up here again, both on the choice and the select at noon. And, are we going to see a seasonal slowdown or not?
It would be unusual if we didn't. Traditionally, you get the week before the Super Bowl, and that seems to be kind of the last little pushy deal for beef features. And generally speaking, people tell me that what they feature or what they say is on sale is usually what moves. You go into kind of a doldrum here where just not a lot of beef features, but the next turn of that then is, of course, is the promise of better weather, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day. I mean, there's a whole series of them. But yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the boxes would back up a little bit. But to me, not to be sarcastic, but I got to be me. It's like, so what? When the boxes went straight up, that didn't translate to better cash. It's about margins this time, and it's about who's got the leverage. And as we move into these tighter supply numbers, guess what? The packer, wholesaler, retailer, that's their turn to share. So I would not get too caught up if someone out there is smart enough to tell me when the demand switch is going to flip, then they're brilliant, because I don't know how you'd know that. We don't throw any meat away. The measure of demand is how much can you produce at how much can you sell at how high a price, right? And last year's production was big, and we sold it at a high price. Last year's exports were a record. I mean, I don't quite get where these people are coming from, that suddenly this demand is going to sweep the chair out from underneath this. Not when it's been this good this long, both globally and domestically.
Yeah, and we had a lot of headwinds that could have proven otherwise in terms of that demand sector for sure. So the hog market up again today, and some of that is due to some of these ASF concerns. They've had some cases in Hong Kong now. Is that right?
On one farm, we understand, in Hong Kong,
Just too close
ASF.
to China, though, huh?
Oh boy, I mean, absolutely, because well, unless you've been on Mars for the last 3 years, you obviously know that the ASF problem in China has been the market, right? Now, I guess, sidebar, note that China hasn't bought very much pork at all from us for quite a while. I think there are people on the ground there that would tell you that their hog herd is in much healthier condition, and periods
True.
of low productivity are followed by periods of high productivity, right? So, but no, that was a worry. Not only that, but they've just buried this hog market. I mean, we beat it up straight down, $14 break. You would think you could get a little bit of a reprieve here anyway. But yes, I thought that the ASF news was a catalyst yesterday, and probably to a degree today as well.
But Feb goes off the board here at noon. April at a pretty good premium to the lean hog index. So will that limit the upside from here?
I'm afraid it's going to. $12 over already. We're out there on
Yeah.
the edge of what's normal for sure. Yes, I'm not really enamored with the April hogs running away with this kind of a premium unless this cash really grabs hold. But we don't see that happening here in the short term either.
Soybeans and meal setting back here. Soybean meal making new contract highs yesterday, closing above the $500 mark. Like I said, we're setting back. Is this just some profit taking again in a otherwise bigger bull market, or do we have that South American story already worked in here?
It's a great question, and I'm not sure if I've got a real great answer. The meal story is a little curious. We've gotten a lot of mileage out of the fact that Argentina is dry. Argentina is a big main player in the soybean meal export market. So I get it. But I mean, at some point, doesn't Brazil have something to do with it? And Brazil's sitting on what they think is a monster crop there.
Right.
I think part of that, a lot of these people are spreaders, right? So there's been a bunch of long meal, short oil, long meal, short bean, it's been the long leg of a lot of those grain spreads. So I think that's part of it. I guess my broader view, I think at some point the market's going to start to look a little bit less at South America and a little bit more at, well, how are things starting to look here, and what are we going to get for planted acres? And it appears like, maybe the drought pattern in a lot of the Corn Belt has changed. The meteorologists are talking about the shift, in the major weather system. So I at these kind of prices, I guess I kind of remain a negative Nelly here and telling the guys that raise it, the hedgers, that hey, these are pretty big values, particularly in new crop beans, and I would pay attention. Corn, as long as this basis stays the way it is, I just don't know if corn's going anywhere. There doesn't seem to be enough bad news to break it, and with a strong basis, it just holds right in there. I do think it bears watching, though. My feeling, and that's a feeling, but my sense would be that people are better prepared with cash corn in ownership, and that there is more corn in farmers' first hands yet compared to last year, which usually is a little bit of a negative equation, but we shall see. It's been hanging right in there.
Yeah, and we went up and hit chart resistance again for, I don't know, the 20th time it seems like, and we just can't get through that. So sideways it is, I guess.
Right, which is unusual. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Brad Koima with Koima Varlick, and that's Mark.